Do you ever scroll through your feed in the morning and feel a quiet kind of dread? Every other post is about AI, a new model, a new tool, a new headline about which jobs are next. And underneath all of it, that gnawing voice you know too well. You should have picked one thing by now. You should have gone deeper. The specialists are going to win this one, and you're still over here with 20 tabs open. Maybe one tab is a video about how transformers work. Another is a tutorial on a tool you'll probably never finish learning. A third is somehow about beekeeping, because last week you got curious about hive intelligence, and now here you are. You've been called scattered before. Unfocused. A dabbler. Maybe in the back of your head, every time a new AI model drops, that old fear sharpens. This time, the specialists really do win. This time, I'm the one who gets left behind. I want to tell you something, and I want you to actually let it land. That fear has it exactly backwards. If you've watched my earlier video, you already know what you are. You're a pattern weaver. Your mind is the loom. Every documentary, every half-read book, every abandoned hobby is another thread, and your gift has always been weaving them together in ways no specialist ever could. But here's what I didn't say loudly enough in that first video. The world we described, the one that finally rewards pattern weavers, isn't some distant future. It's the one that just arrived. And it arrived faster than anyone expected, because it arrived with AI. The AI era isn't the thing that threatens pattern weavers. The AI era is the thing that finally sets them free. Let me show you why. For the last 100 years, we built an entire civilization on the idea of the deep well. Pick one spot. Dig deeper than anyone else. Society will reward you. And it did. The deeper your well, the more valuable your water. Cardiologists, tax attorneys, database engineers, specialists who knew everything about one narrow patch of ground and got paid handsomely for it. If you were a pattern weaver in that world, you felt it. You felt the quiet shame of not having a single well to point to. You watched friends commit to their one thing at 22 and felt like there was something wrong with you for still being curious about 6 things at 35. Then something showed up that started drilling those wells for us. Much quicker. Cheaper. At 3 in the morning without complaint. AI is the most aggressive specialist that has ever existed. It can read every paper in a field in an afternoon. It can produce a competent legal brief, a competent piece of code, a competent marketing draft, a competent anything in seconds. It is, by its very nature, going deep and narrow on every single domain humans ever specialized in. So if your entire identity was built on being the deepest well in one field, you now have a competitor that never sleeps, never gets tired, and gets smarter every month. That is a genuinely terrifying place to be, and the people in that place are right to be unsettled. But here is the part almost nobody is saying out loud yet. AI is an extraordinary specialist and a terrible pattern weaver. AI can tell you everything humans have ever written about mycelial networks. It cannot feel that mycelial networks are secretly the same shape as a healthy team structure and weave that thread into a new way of running a company. AI can summarize every paper on behavioral economics. It cannot taste a perfume and remember a poem and connect them into a product that makes someone cry in a store. The loom is still yours. AI just handed you the most extraordinary collection of threads any pattern weaver in history has ever had access to. Think about what your mind has always done. You collected threads slowly, painfully, one book at a time, one obsession at a time. A red thread from that summer you got into neuroscience. A gray thread from the months you tried to learn accounting. A gold thread from that calligraphy class you swore was useless. Each thread took weeks or months or years to acquire, and that was the bottleneck on every pattern weaver who has ever lived. Breadth was expensive. It cost time you didn't have. That bottleneck just collapsed. You can now develop working fluency in a new field in days. You have an infinitely patient tutor available at all hours. The cost of acquiring a new thread, the thing that limited polymaths for the entire history of polymaths, has fallen to nearly nothing, which means the practical ceiling on how many threads one human can hold has been raised to a height nobody has tested yet. You are the first generation of pattern weavers who get to find out what the loom can really do. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. There's a researcher named Vivian Ming. She trained as a theoretical neuroscientist. Then she got into machine learning. Then she started a company that uses AI to predict diabetes risk in children. Then another company that uses AI to identify hidden talent in hiring. Then she started writing about education. Then she started consulting major companies on problems that didn't have a department yet. By the old rules, her resume is a mess. She isn't the anything. She's 6 different the things laid on top of each other. By the new rules, she's untouchable. No specialist can do what she does. No AI can do what she does either, because what she does is take an AI tool from one room and walk it into a completely different room and recognize a problem there that nobody in that room had the language for yet. She isn't competing with the neuroscientist or the data scientist or the policy expert. She's weaving them. The threads in her loom are the exact threads the moment needs. That's not luck. That's not personality. That's what pattern weavers do when you stop punishing them for it and start handing them tools. If you're watching this and starting to feel something loosen in your chest, that's the right response. And if this is your first time on the channel and you found this because the algorithm finally figured out who you are, hit subscribe. This is a community of pattern weavers, and we're just getting to the part that matters. Now, I want to address something that comes up every time I talk about this. People will say, okay, but isn't this just a flattering excuse for not finishing things? Isn't a pattern weaver just a dabbler with better PR? It is a fair challenge, and it deserves a real answer. There is a difference between a dabbler and a pattern weaver, and the difference is what happens after curiosity fades. A dabbler collects experiences for the feeling of them. The hobby is the destination, and when the feeling runs out, the thread is dropped on the floor. A pattern weaver collects experiences for the threads they leave behind. You weren't trying to become a photographer that summer. You got into photography. You were absorbing composition and light and the discipline of noticing, and you are still using those skills every time you build a slide or shoot a video, even if you never picked up the camera again. You weren't trying to become a beekeeper. You were absorbing the concept of distributed intelligence, and it's going to show up the next time you design a team. This is what AI cannot copy. AI has read everything on the internet, but the internet has never seen your specific combination of threads in one head, in one order, weighted by your specific obsessions and your specific lived experience. That combination is statistically unique. In a world that is rapidly drowning in commodity intelligence, statistically unique combinations are the rarest and most valuable resource on Earth. Your weave is your moat. So let's talk about how to actually do this. Because identity without practice is just a more comfortable version of the same anxiety. Here are 3 techniques to start consciously weaving in the AI era. The first is the AI thread run. Most pattern weavers used to spend weeks or months acquiring a single thread. Now you can do it in an evening, and you should. Once a week, pick a field you know almost nothing about and spend 90 minutes with an AI walking you through it. Not to master it, to extract the 3 or 4 mental models that define it. How does this field see the world? What does it think is interesting? What does it think is dangerous? Write those models down. That is your thread. Add it to the loom. Do this every week, and in a year you have 50 new threads from 50 different fields, which is more breadth than most academics acquire in a decade. The second technique is the 2-room question. This is the practice that actually trains the weaving instinct. Whenever you encounter a problem in your work or your life, force yourself to ask, what would this look like if it were happening in a completely different field? If your team has a communication problem, ask what an air traffic control tower would do. If your business is stuck, ask what a coral reef would do. Most of the time, the answer is nonsense. But sometimes, and it only takes sometimes, the answer is a breakthrough nobody else in your industry could have seen because nobody else was standing in 2 rooms at once. The third technique is the receipt inventory. This one is for the guilt. That voice that says you wasted those months on pottery, that you should have stuck with the language app, that you abandoned that thing before you got good. Take an afternoon. Write down every abandoned interest you can remember. Underneath each one, write what it actually left behind. Not the skill you didn't complete. The thread. That version? The instinct. The vocabulary. You will be staggered. Most pattern weavers who do this exercise discover 30 or 40 live threads they completely forgot they had. That is your loom. That is what walks into the room with you every time you encounter a new problem. You weren't quitting. You were collecting. Let me bring this all the way back. Most of your life, you received a guide that praised digging deep in a single path, yet you constantly felt drawn to the sides. You kept reaching for the next book in the next field and feeling vaguely embarrassed about it. You watched specialists get celebrated and wondered why you couldn't just commit. But every specialist who was celebrated was being celebrated for digging a well that is right now being drilled by machines. And every pattern weaver who was quietly walking the landscape, picking up strange threads and feeling foolish for it, is about to... And every pattern weaver who was quietly walking the landscape, picking up strange threads and feeling foolish for it, is about to walk into the most interesting decade in human history, holding exactly the right tools. That graveyard of half-finished interests was never a graveyard. It was a workshop. Every abandoned project gave you a thread. Every fleeting obsession added a color. Every passion that flared and faded left something on your loom that is, right now, waiting to be woven into a problem you haven't met yet. The AI era did not arrive to replace you. It arrived to finish the sentence your mind has been trying to say your entire life. You are not a master of none. You are a pattern weaver in the first era of human history that finally needs one. If this resonated, subscribe and join the Loom. And in the comments, I want to hear about the strangest 2 threads on your Loom right now. The 2 interests that feel least related to each other. Then take a minute and reply to someone else and tell them what pattern you see between their 2. Let's practice the weave together. Thank you for watching. Now go pull on a new thread.